times. We are so glad that you're here. We know that through the times that we're living in, things have really changed, and we are happy to have the 3 easy steps from clutter to cash flow with Kitti Andrews. She's an amazing woman, and we're so thankful that she's here. Welcome to the show, Kitti.
Thank you very much for having me, Rhonda. I'm absolutely delighted.
We're so excited. You're known as the thought organizer, which is highly sought after by experts in decluttering the space, not just space, but also the brain. And for over 20 years, Kitti, you've been helping individuals to get unstuck and out of the state of overwhelm by getting their physical as well as mental surroundings under control. I know we all can certainly use that. You've written and directed and performed your online videos devoted to decluttering the 5 life pillars. You've also been speaking on wonderful podcasts as well as done summits. You've been with Harvard as well as Stanford. You're all over the place. You live in Canada. Your outreach is amazing. We're so thankful to have you here. Welcome to the show.
I am really looking forward to this. This is going to be interesting, really interesting, because you have an interesting viewpoint, and I can't wait. Let's roll.
Well, I moved from the big city. Our house had sold. We had 30 days to get out. And it was like, oh my goodness, we never had our yard sale. We never got to declutter. Let's pick it up and let's move. And it was just one of those things that we're still kind of stuck with our junk, going through stuff and trying to get rid of things. But I know that if people could just take the notion now to start downsizing and decluttering, it would open up a door or a window for them to put their money into things that are more tangible for this time of age. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. And the funny thing is that we rarely declutter until we absolutely have to. I'm a perfect example. I'm about to move. I've been decluttering a little bit slowly, but now it's crunch time. And here I am and wondering why I didn't do it months ago, kind of thing. And I have a very reasonably small apartment. If you can start to do it even in small steps, and we're going to talk about this, but even in small steps so that it's not a massive OMG, I've got to do this, then everyone's a lot better off, and certainly your stress level is less.
I think when we're all fogged up with so much stuff that we can't even really think about where to even begin because it's overwhelming.
Mhm. Absolutely. And overwhelm is actually a major reason why my clients come to me, is because they don't know where to start. So we can talk about that a little bit, when you would like, about where to start.
It's like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? How do you get through that garage that is overwhelming with stuff? Because most people don't even use their cars in the garage anymore. They use their garage for storage. And I know
Mhm.
that when I lived in my house for 20 years in the same place, things that we don't use much, I just put it in the garage or discard it over here. And we don't really look at it until we absolutely have to. And I think it's important that people start looking at what they have and how to just kind of go through one section at a time.
Mhm. If depending on your age range, most of my clients are 40 and over, and they've had time to accumulate things. One of my clients, she just said, I don't want my kids to have to go through all of this. So that was her why of why she wanted to declutter, was just simply she knew that she had, 30 years of Christmas decorations kind of thing that her kids weren't going to want. She didn't want them to have to go through all of this stuff. So that was certainly a good reason. And as you get older, as you get past the age of 40, you find that you don't need or want as much as you used to. But well, which ornament? We'll stick with Christmas for now. Which ornament do I get rid of? What do I do? How do I do it? And then even before you get to that stage, there's the idea of, where do I begin? The song, right? Where do I start? So I have a system that kind of reduces that overwhelm. Nothing will completely eliminate it, though. ladies and gentlemen. It's just it is what it is because you are dealing with a major project. Would you like me to share that?
I would love that. Tell us about your system.
All right. It is, again, specifically designed to reduce the overwhelm, and it's called the One System, ONE. One room at a time, one area at a time, one thing at a time. And I'll go through these really, really quickly.
Okay.
One room at a time means that you're not, say, for example, starting in your office if you're an entrepreneur, and then you get bored with that, and then you go over to the spare bedroom, and then you come back to your office. Frankly, from a purely practical point of view, by the time you've gotten back to your office, you're not in the rhythm anymore. You can't remember, where was I in here? I don't remember. 15 minutes is gone. There's your productivity of 15 minutes gone. Whereas if you stick in that one room, then you've got that momentum. Your brain doesn't have to think, which is sometimes a good thing. And then we move on to one area of that room at a time. Same deal. Because how many times do we think, I'll start over in that corner? I'll do a little bit over there and then I'll do a little bit over there. Same deal. You forget where you were and you're losing your momentum. Whereas if you stick with that one area, then you start to see, you have no choice but to see some results because you're sticking with that. And what does that do? That fuels your self confidence to say, oh, wow, I got rid of that pile of papers. I can't believe it. Well, it doesn't sound like much, but if you're delaying decluttering because you don't think that you can do it, which is very, very common, Rhonda, very common.
I'm that person. I'm the multitasker. I start over here and I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Let me go over here and do something else and try to come back. And you're right, the momentum is gone. And now you're trying to figure out where you were and you're getting your mind back to where you had stopped so that you can start again. And it does, it becomes a cluster. And I've done that. I'm the queen of that. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And
It's
go ahead.
no, I'm done.
What else part can you explain with that? I mean, it's even just getting rid of clothes and just, I mean, I've got clothes and things in my closet that I know I'm never going to wear again, but it's like, well, I might, we get into that mindset. Well, these are my skinny clothes and these are the ones I swear I'm going to get back into. People collect and collect and collect, and it's just insane. We all do it. We all
Mhm.
do it.
Yes, and it goes back to we were hunter gatherers. We were the human race was natural hoarders. You said we might need it someday, and of course, during the Depression era, and many of us have parents or grandparents who went through that.
Yes.
Then you have that mentality. Uh, yeah.
I think, even with growing up with, I had, 7 brothers and sisters, and we did the old hand-me-down deal because we didn't have a lot, so it was like we're all kinda saving and handing down and trying to protect what we have, and I know that that has affected everything that I collect and hold on to. It's like the past of the childhood is still in the forefront, and even though that seems like it's kinda kooky, but I think when it comes to, coming into these times where there's shortages and things like that,
Yes.
that that will come into play where it will be a benefit because I've gone through that because we're gonna have to look at what is valuable and what's not. But there's so much stuff. We're collectors of knickknacks and garbage and crap that it's
Mhm.
like, is it really that important? What is that? It's a dust collector. And I think every household has them. We got to figure out what is the value of most of the stuff we have. A lot of stuff is mementos or hand-me-downs from somebody else's value, and I shudder to think of people that have, parents that have lived in the same house for 50 years, what's in that house, and the tragedy of the people having to go through that, and I don't wanna have that for my own kids, the tragic momentums of stuff. just stuff.
Absolutely. And I'd like to, yeah, I would like to address, niche down what we're talking about to the people that want to be prepared for off-grid living. Um, before we get to that, I'd like to share with you the third step to the one system, if I may.
Perfect.
And that is one thing at a time. Now, the you should see the deer in the headlights looks that I always get with this. But hear me out. Means is one thing at a time, meaning go through it one thing at a time. Is it tedious? Yes. Is it time consuming? I'm afraid so. But
Yeah.
is it also the number one way to make sure that you are decluttered for life? Now, if you're thinking about the off grid living and saying, well, I'm not sure I can do that because I like shopping, I like to collect stuff. But if you have gone through your, let's take a desk full of papers, for example,
Okay.
and you've gone through, I can give you a perfect example of my very first client. And her desk was a big L-shaped desk, and it was 6 inches of paper, not a word of a lie. You could not see the top of the desk. She said, "You are out of your mind, Kitty. We are not going through this paper one at a time." Well, it was my first client. What was I going to do? I didn't know what else to do. So I think she sensed this, being a fellow coach, and she said, "Okay, well, I'll try it for a few minutes." Well, I'll tell you what. Within about 7 minutes, she started to go through these papers. Bam, bam, bam. She said, "The bank statements. My accountant doesn't need bank statements. I can put them online." Okay, there's some clutter gone.
Right.
um, Utility bills, same deal. The kicker, and here's where the retraining your brain comes in, is the trade magazines that she had. We threw away, oh golly, 6 or 8 trade magazines worth about $8 or $9 a pop. Because she looked at them and she said, "Kitty, after 3 months, they're out of date. I can't even look at them. There's no point." Bam, into the recycle it goes. Here it is. Ready?
Yeah.
She went to the next time she went to the store. She reported that she said, I started to automatically, her hand just started to automatically reach for that magazine. And she pulled it back. She said, "I just threw away about $50 worth of magazines. I'll see if
Yeah.
I don't see if I really need it." So her brain was automatically saying, "You don't need that extra clutter." So when your people are going off grid, if they have taken the time, I believe, if they've taken the time to go through their things and really just assess, what is it I need. And you mentioned sentimental items, and I think we should talk about that too. The
Right.
idea being, when you're thinking towards the future, because decluttering for your tribe is different than decluttering for because I should, kind of thing,
Right.
right?
Yep.
uh, yeah, what's your take on that?
Well, I think that when people are preparing to decluttering, get rid of stuff that, holding on to a few mementos that are dear to your heart is a good thing, but to hold on to everything is not a good thing, because you waste valuable space. And then it's
Mhm.
not just the space. I look at people that are trying to, downsize and figure out what is good for them and what's not. And as we go through some troublesome times, your garage might be a place where you could put extra food storage or extra toilet paper or things that you really need. And if it's full of old clothes, an extra set of tires and hubcaps that you'll never use, and whatever else you could
Yeah,
possibly put in there that is
yeah,
cluttering up everything, you're doing yourself a disservice and your family, because you're not utilizing the space that could be used for the time that is coming, but you're not collecting any money on things that you could be maybe selling or trading, or you maybe you trade your hubcaps and your tires for something that you need that is valuable for what's coming down the pipeline, then that will give somebody else the opportunity to utilize those instead of them sitting in the garage rotting away. And when I moved, my garage was full of all sorts of double, triple tools and this and that. Who can use all that stuff? You really can't. And so, an individual taking the time to figure out what it is that's really important today that will make a difference for the future tomorrow, and being able to be stress free from all the stuff is a benefit. It's a huge benefit. And what you're talking about and teaching, people can really take a good look at what we're talking about because it's very important.
Yes,
There's
yes.
so much there.
And it's using up mental energy too.
Oh,
It's unseen energy that, because you know that I can think of a closet right now, two closets. The one downstairs that had a bunch of my father's stuff. We finally got that done. I felt about 5 years younger immediately because that had been what weighing on my brain, that
yes.
it's got to get done. And it's the restorative benefits are truly amazing. And then when you're talking about, just many times people ask me, well, how do I choose with sentimental items? And in the 40 and over age group, we've got everything from ticket stubs when we were going to concerts, to play tickets with our parents, things like that. How do you choose? And have you ever asked yourself that question? How do I choose?
I have.
Something that I have
Out.
Well, something that I actually learned from a client, and I've tried it with other clients, is pretend that this woman was moving from Washington State to Minnesota and driving herself, and
Okay.
everything was going to be packed in the back of the car with a small U-Haul. So she really had to pare down, and she was very sentimental. She asked, every time she looked at a sentimental item, she said, do I really want to drive this across country and unpack it at the other end? Do I
That's
want it that bad? And she evaluated each and every single item on that criteria. And I tried it. And even when I wasn't even thinking of moving then. And I'll be darned if it doesn't work. When you think, would I be willing to cart this cross country with me? And if the answer is even a no, it's okay. Somebody else can use it. One man, what is it? One man's junk is another man's treasure. Am I right?
that's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So that might help. So people who are especially downsizing for off grid, because the whole thing moving is traumatic enough. I'm sure. Am I right?
It
Yeah.
is bad. I hate moving. Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
So the less you can reduce the trauma of changing your addresses and getting used to a new routine and all of this kind of stuff, the more you can reduce your stress level by using little mental tricks. Then yeah, you're playing tricks on yourself, but they work.
They do work. They do work. And even like when you said you had your father's suits or clothing in a closet, my father passed and I had all of his stuff, and I took the things and I distributed them to other family members so that it wasn't all with me, so that they could, if they wanted it, they could enjoy it or do whatever with it, but I picked and choose what I thought would be able to be passed around, and then the rest of it I donated it. But it just seems like, if just to take that mental stress away and share it so other people can take, if they want, ownership of something, or just the fact that, passing it around. I mean, when my husband's family passed, it was tons of stuff that had been in that house for 60 years, and it's like, oh my goodness, that's it's a lot of stuff going on, and people need to pick and choose their battles and make sure when they're doing it that it's comfortable for them, and to
That's
say,
right.
is this what I want, or do I really want to do this? We have the power to pick and choose, and it's important that people really stand up for themselves and not feel a burden where they have to clock that down on them and then feel like they're overwhelmed because it's their responsibility or whatever. And that goes for every piece of everything that we own. Is this something that's useful?
Yeah.
Do Like you said, do I really want to do this on the other end of the spectrum? If
Right.
it's a
Right.
no, feel free to be free. Be free of it.
Yes. And off-grid living, sounds to me like it's a really good exercise in ne- uh, necessary minimalism, if I understand it
Yeah,
correctly. That you need to be a minimalist, and what better time to declutter the things that are, frankly, I believe that clutter is a lot of it is ghosts from the past, ghosts from your past life. That you, okay, the wedding dress, for example, that you're never going to need. You'll never fit into it. You don't have a daughter to pass it on. If you do, maybe she doesn't want it, yada yada yada. But
right,
still, we hang on to it. And by the way, that wedding dress was from an abusive marriage. Why are you hanging on to it? Kind
right,
of thing, right? That's what I mean by a ghost. Things that they don't, as Marie Kondo says, spark joy. You don't want them, but you feel guilty
yeah.
because, well, I should keep it, and this applies to any item in your house. Well, I should keep it. Well, stop shoulding.
I actually, when I moved here, I took mine to a boutique and put it in there. If somebody else can use it, hallelujah. Because what am I going to do with it? I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I'm not going to wear it again. So I'm with
Right.
you. Somebody
And
will get good use out of it.
yeah, and the joy is that there are so many resources out there, thrift shops, boutique, antique stores where you can bring these old things, and someone is going. The universe will find someone who wants this, and it's just going to make their day.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. So that's great. And what other pillars do you have for decluttering?
I've that's a great question. It's actually one of my favorites because, especially if you're making a lifestyle change
Mm,
to off grid, we at Declutter the Brain not only declutter your physical space, your home, but the other four of five pillars of life, meaning your heart, your relationships, meaning your habits, your health, and your head. Hence, declutter the brain. It's a really comprehensive system, and the reason it just evolved that way by accident because I started out by just helping people with their physical space, and magical things started to happen. It was like the onions, the blinders came off their eyes, the layers of the onions started to peel back, and they would notice. One client noticed something about 2 months into her program. She noticed that something that her husband had said, and I said, "Is this new?" And she sat and thought about it and said, "No, you know what? He's been saying this for the 25 years of our marriage." Uh, and she also, around about the same time, started a fitness plan. And where am I going with this? Is I believe that, and it's happened with every client that I've been with, is we start decluttering the physical space, and then other areas they become aware of. They become more attuned to. Just all of a sudden, and yet it's always been there in their subconscious, but they just haven't had feng shui energy, if you like. It's just, I was blind and now I see.
right. Very good. I agree. It all starts in one spot. I mean, if everything's cluttered up, they say a cluttered desk is a cluttered mind.
Mhm.
Cluttered room is a cluttered mind. So I'm
Yes,
with you there.
yes.
Very good.
And actually, can I speak into that just briefly?
You bet.
Wednesday. Today is Wednesday. I know for a fact because I'm wearing a pink shirt. That's my structure. My point is, by Wednesday, I've put in 36 hours of work. My kitchen counter is not looking lemony fresh. I've dropped a couple of things. Yeah, I'll put it away. Put it away. It's not disgusting, but it's not where my standards are. Tonight, I am going to, and this is a routine, I am going to get rid of these few items of clutter, give it a good wipe down. Tomorrow, I am going to be on fire again. I can tell you this without even going to tomorrow, because everything is clear, everything is calm and nice. And that's certainly got to be a benefit when, if you're living in a minimalist environment, and you're getting used to off-grid living, which I'm a bit of a different lifestyle. The idea is that perhaps it all works together to make to keep your life calm. Huh? What
Yeah.
do you think?
Yes. I agree with that. I totally agree. So, if someone would like to get a hold of you or be on your newsletter or just connect with you, how can they get a hold of you?
Ah! Go to declutterthebrain.com. Can put HTTP, even whatever it is you want to, just go to declutterthebrain.com. And while they're there, they can download my 7 easy steps to conquer their physical and mental clutter. That is intended as a grounding tool for your declutter journey and beyond. It is 7 steps meant to be followed in order. And what's the use to declutter if you can't keep it that way? You do it slow and steady, and that will win the race for life. And it's a skill you can pass on to your children, your grandchildren. Yeah, just doing it slow and steadily and consistently.
And if they want to email you, they can email you at kitty@declutterthebrain.com.
You bet. You bet.
This is how you can get a hold of Kitty. She's a wealth of information. She does what she does, and she does it best. People love her, they get with her, they declutter everything. I've got her 7 steps. It's amazing. I hope that you'll reach out to Kitty. She's been just an inspiration, and we're thankful to have her today. And if there's anything that you'd like to say as finals, Kitty, is
He wants to say something. Well, look at it from his point of view. Meow. And this is live. Um, don't get tell yourself that you can. If you're starting to feel like, where am I going to start small. Start in the very smallest room of your house. Don't start with the basement with the 30 years worth of Christmas decorations. Start in the smallest room of the house. That's what I'm about to do, and I'm taking that even further and starting in one part of the one part of the closet in that smallest room. Just keep it, enjoy the small wins.
there
Make
you go.
yourself a bunch of small wins, and you're just going to be like the little engine that could. You know that book, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we thank you so much for being on the show today. And please reach out to Kitty. She's amazing.
Thank you, Rhonda. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.